It's January 20th, and today is a wild day in international politics. Donald Trump has disrupted the Davos Economic Forum, causing an international scandal. Peace talks about the Gaza Strip and Russia's war against Ukraine in Davos have been cancelled. Some European leaders, including Volodymyr Zelensky, have cancelled their visits to the Economic Forum because they don't even see a reason to talk with Donald Trump. Donald Trump himself cancelled the signing of an $800 billion agreement with Ukraine for post-war reconstruction. Today, Trump decided to go all in and stated that despite the fact that NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte still proposed an alternative security format, the United States of America will inevitably seize Greenland. And I quote, "There is no turning back now. Because of this, Europe abruptly stopped sharing intelligence with the Americans." Donald Trump criticized the United Kingdom for giving islands to Mauritius, where a United States military base is located. Although Trump himself had previously supported and welcomed this idea, he bypassed all diplomatic protocols and began publishing personal correspondence with Emmanuel Macron and Mark Rutte. And he is threatening France with 200% tariffs. At the same time, the United Nations leadership also cancelled its visit to Davos because Trump will be presenting his own version of the United Nations there, called the Peace Council. But it's unclear to whom, because the Europeans have already refused to join this club. However, Lukashenko has already announced that he's in and is joining the Peace Council. And all of this happened in just one day. So let's figure it all out together now and put everything in order. My name is Alexei Peachy. Let's discuss this topic together, but before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, give it a like, leave any comment under this episode, and friends, subscribe to my Telegram channel, Peachy News. The link to it is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. So, let's start right away with Ukraine. Washington and Kyiv won't sign it. At the World Economic Forum in Davos, the planned $800 billion Ukraine post-war reconstruction agreement will not be signed. The presidents of the United States and Ukraine, Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky, were expected to sign the document, but their meeting was ultimately cancelled. Moreover, Volodymyr Zelensky cancelled his speech in Davos today, against the backdrop of the Russian terrorist shelling, which once again left most of Kyiv without heating and cut off the Chernobyl nuclear power plant from external power supply. The International Atomic Energy Agency confirmed the Chernobyl nuclear power plant was disconnected from the external line because of Russian actions. But let's get back to the agreement. Zelensky said things could change at any time, but for now. So, according to Axios, the signing of the agreement on Ukraine's reconstruction is not planned in Davos. Trump, they say, has completely different goals for this forum. It's about Greenland and the Peace Council. But Axios does not rule out that a meeting between Trump and Zelensky could still take place, although no breakthrough is expected there. And now, Trump's team has already stated that actually, the agreement itself still needs to be finalized, and they weren't planning to sign it anyway. And now Zelensky has taken a stronger position. By the way, he noted that the plan for economic prosperity and security guarantees are very important. But he is ready to go to Davos only if all the documents are prepared. If not, if Trump has something else in mind, then what's the point of going? According to Zelensky, a possible meeting with Trump should end with a specific result that will strengthen Ukraine and bring the end of the war closer, not just be a meeting for the sake of meeting. Kyiv presented an economic prosperity plan in late December, stressing its necessity for Ukraine's recovery and revival. The plan will require an investment of $800 billion over 10 years after the end of the war. Importantly, this plan was created by both Ukrainians and Americans. It's a joint effort. Initially, Zelensky hoped, as did the Ukrainians, and the announcement of tariffs against European countries that sent their military to the island of Greenland. As a result, Trump simply pushed any negotiations on Ukraine to the background, and here is an important point. It was expected that in Davos, together with the Americans, the Europeans would discuss security guarantees for Ukraine and the security architecture of Europe itself. Only after that will Trump's special representatives Stephen Witkoff and Jared Kushner travel to Moscow for talks with Putin. Trump will not negotiate with the Europeans and Zelensky, but Witkoff and Kushner's Moscow visit is still on. What will they talk about there? But what exactly is Donald Trump going to present in Davos? Because he is still flying there, and this is where things just get crazy. Trump has only two topics: Greenland and the Council of Peace. Let's start with Greenland. So, early in the morning on January 20th, Trump stated that he had spoken with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte about Greenland and agreed to meet with various parties in Davos, but added that there is no turning back. Quote, "Greenland is indispensable for our and global security." And supposedly everyone agrees with this, but as it turned out, not everyone actually agrees. Immediately after that, Trump posted a personal message from Emmanuel Macron. This is simply a violation of all diplomacy, of all diplomatic protocols, but Trump just goes for these antics. So, in this correspondence, Macron agreed with Trump on the issues of Syria and Iran, but doesn't understand his actions regarding Greenland. Macron suggested organizing a G7 format meeting on Thursday, the day after Davos, and inviting Ukraine, Denmark, Syria, and Russia. Macron invited Trump to lunch in Paris on Thursday before he returns to the United States. A quote from Macron's personal correspondence: "My friend, we are completely aligned on Syria. We can do great things regarding Iran, but I don't understand what you are doing about Greenland." Macron proposed a dialogue to Trump. Moreover, the Élysée Palace today confirmed the authenticity of Macron's personal message to United States President Trump, in which the French leader proposed holding a G7 meeting in Paris on January 22 with Russia's participation. By the way, this is the first proposal in 12 years to invite the Russians back to the G7 format for dialogue. So the idea is simple. Okay, if Trump is really losing his mind, then everyone needs to be invited to the same table at once and have an open conversation. And it's also important that Emmanuel Macron's proposal came at a time when Europe is considering countermeasures to Trump's tariffs on goods from 8 European countries, which he imposed the day before. Because they sent their troops to Greenland, even though there are only 2, 10, or 13 soldiers there. Nevertheless, with the help of tariffs, Trump is trying to put pressure on the European Union to change its position on Greenland. And do you think Trump appreciated Macron's initiative, who says, listen, let's take a breath, sit down and talk? No. Trump said he might impose 200% tariffs on French wines and champagne, because Macron refused to participate in his council and added that Macron isn't really needed there anyway, since he'll soon leave his post as president. If he doesn't join the Council of Peace, France will face tariffs. We'll revisit the Council of Peace later. There's more to discuss. After that, Donald Trump started posting AI-generated images on the social network Trasoshell to confirm to Europeans his claims on Greenland. He showed a photo of the meeting between the European allies and Trump in the Oval Office on August 18, 2025. In the background, there is a map showing Canada, Venezuela, and Greenland as part of the United States of America. Well, something like that, as if Trump was supposedly showing this plan to the Europeans. In the second picture, Trump, John David Vance, and Marco Rubio are stepping onto land with a sign that says, Greenland Territory of the United States of America since 2026. 1P, Den, Wo, Wa. And as if all that wasn't enough, Donald Trump also went after Great Britain, Mauritius, and the Chagos Islands in the Indian Ocean, where the United States military base Diego Garcia is located. Trump stated that this is yet another reason why the United States should seize Greenland. And now comes the most paradoxical part, and what personally makes me subjectively doubt Donald Trump's adequacy. The whole point of this story is that Donald Trump's administration had previously supported the decision of the United Kingdom in. That's all. The way to ensure the security of the American base Diego Garcia, these are Donald Trump's words. He says, great idea, go ahead. The United States base Diego Garcia itself, of course, isn't going anywhere. But now Trump, on the same topic, says the following quote, this is shocking. Our so-called wonderful NATO ally, the United Kingdom, is planning to hand over Diego Garcia Island, a key United States military base, to Mauritius without any NATO reason. There's no doubt that China and Russia have noticed this act of total weakness. The United Kingdom is giving away extremely important land. This is an act of great foolishness, and yet another reason why we should acquire Greenland. Once again, let me just note that Donald Trump himself supported the United Kingdom's decision to hand over the islands, calling it crucial for the security of the American military base, and now he says it's foolishness and a sign of weakness. Later, Trump escalated by sharing a personal message from NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte online, who continues to flatter him as usual. Here's a quote: "Mr. President, dear Donald, your achievements in Syria are incredible. I'm using my press briefings in Davos to highlight your work on Gaza and Ukraine. I'm committed to finding a way forward on Greenland." And then after that, Mark Rutte offers Donald Trump a way out of the situation with Greenland. Mark Rutte's proposal concerns the 1951 agreement, which was signed between the United States and Denmark 2 years after Denmark joined NATO. This document provides for the joint defense of Greenland and allows the United States to place its military bases on the island since the Cold War. The American Air Base Patuxent is stationed there, where there is currently a contingent of more than 600 people, including about 200 United States military personnel. And now Mark Rutte says, "Listen, let's renew this agreement and add a clause that prohibits the island of Greenland from cooperating in any area with Russians and Chinese." Trump stands his ground and says, "The island must become American, and that's it. Nothing else is up for discussion." But that's not all. Donald Trump is flying to Davos to present his peace council. What is it? What is this peace council? I have a separate episode on this topic on this YouTube channel, so I suggest watching it for full context. So, Donald Trump decided to replace the United Nations Security Council with himself and rule the whole world single-handedly. Donald Trump is planning to announce in Davos that his peace council will not be limited to the Gaza Strip, which is what it was originally created for. This is a peace council for the whole world. This is a quote from a White House official. So, already on Thursday, January 22, an official announcement is planned about the establishment of the Peace Council and the signing of its charter. Donald Trump is expected to head this body. The charter also gives him alone, the right to veto all absolute decisions. This shocked the Europeans, as it wasn't what they agreed to back in October in Sharm el-Sheikh. Remember, there was a meeting there. Europeans, regional countries, Americans, Israelis, even someone from Hamas was there. And it was called a peace summit. After that, they decided, let's create a peace council for the temporary administration of the Gaza Strip. Trump now says this is all great, but he plans to spread it worldwide, dissolve the United Nations, and create a Donald Trump Peace Council. So the Europeans are saying, listen, something a bit different was discussed there. It was never about Trump being the sole head of the Peace Council, making all the decisions by himself, and so on. France has already publicly declined to join the Peace Council. Let me remind you that the permanent members of this Peace Council will have to make a contribution of $1 billion. According to Bloomberg, the United Kingdom, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Canada also intend to reject Trump's proposal and will not participate in the signing ceremony in Davos. Even Israel has spoken out against this peace council, while countries such as Argentina, Morocco, Qatar, Indonesia, and Belarus have agreed to join this peace council. In total, Trump invited 58 leaders to the council, bypassing China and Africa. As a result, just yesterday, Thursday, a major scandal was expected in Davos because Europeans refused to back an alternative to the United Nations, especially during the Greenland conflict. And by the way, Denmark cancelled its delegation's trip to Davos due to the situation with Greenland, and United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres also cancelled his trip to Davos, citing a cold. Well, just think about how he would look against the backdrop of Trump presenting his pseudo-United Nations. As a result, Trump decided to turn the World Economic Forum in Davos into a celebration of himself. But truly important issues, such as ending Russia's war against Ukraine, are no longer even being discussed. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like friends. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation using the links and details in the description of this video. Thank you. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.